This meeting of the Coventry Redevelopment Agency to order. Let's see. Emergency exits to the rear of the building, exit out either side to the parking lot or to the front of the building. First item on the agenda would be meeting minutes. We have two from September 25th and September 30th. If there are no comments or additions, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept them as a block.
I'll make that motion. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion. It's seconded. Can we take the roll call, please?
Member Poley?
Yes.
Member Pilla?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Schuler?
Yes.
Chairman Brennan?
Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. Motion passes.
Made it past the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Under new business, we have no, public comment on docketed items. If there's anybody who would like to comment on docketed items, now's your chance. Public comment going once, twice, and we will close public comment. Okay, first agenda item is the presentation among our agency members as to the Open Meeting Act and Rhode Island Ethics Commission requirements for members. This is because we have two new members that have not had this presentation before. So, Stephen, I believe it's up to you. Stephen, I think you're muted.
My apologies. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So my apologies for not being there this evening. I discussed those reasons with the chairman. So let's talk about the Ethics Commission responsibility that you have. Each one of you as a member of a public body must file the annual report for yourself. It's an individual requirement. It's not something the town will help you with. It's not a town responsibility, but it is as a result of your participation on a board in a public body. You must file the existence of your public position and make financial disclosures with the Rhode Island Ethics Commission. If you go to their website, and again, if you need help with this, if you need help Googling it, whatever you need, I will provide to you. And I will be forwarding materials to you subsequent to this meeting that will make it a bit easier for you. But you must file annually with the Rhode Island Ethics Commission. It's a financial disclosure that everyone in your position needs to make. Generally speaking, it's filed in the springtime. Deadline is March 31st. You don't want to miss the deadline, and you don't want to be incomplete in your filing. You start early. You can talk to Ethics Commission staff about any particular questions that you may have to make sure that you're comfortable with your filing. Does anyone have questions about that, or why you need to make a filing? What happens if you don't? That kind of thing.
We seem to be set.
Okay. So next, we're going to talk about the Open Meetings Act and some general tenets of it. I didn't send you materials in advance because there's a lot of material on this. There are certain parts of it that are more important than others to you as agency members, and I didn't want to burden the dialogue tonight with things that are important but extraneous, and it's one of the reasons why you have legal counsel to step in and tell you things. When you are on a public body, as a member of a public body, the business of the body itself must occur under the eye of the public. And that means in the room, in that room that you sit, that is the time for you to discuss and consider the business before the agency and to make your disposition known as to how you may or may not vote or what your particular leanings may be on a particular item. Why does that matter? Because any conversations that you may have outside of the meeting with members of the agency, with respect to deliberating, voting, or how you're leaning on a particular item can, in the words can be construed as a violation of the Open Meetings Act because it's not occurring under the watchful eye of the public. And it can be construed as a rolling quorum. Now, rolling quorum is very important. As you may say, well, I talked to Bob about it, and that's not a quorum of the agency, so that's okay. That's fine. But if you talk to Bob about it, and then you talk to Chris about it, now you have talked to you, and those other members constitute a quorum of the public body. And so you don't, and so how do you have a rolling quorum? In an oral conversation in person, on the telephone, on text, on email, and oh, by the way, on Facebook. Social media has put a new spin on all of this. So comments by you on Facebook pages to the man in the moon, the lady next door, anyone, if done with more than a majority of the members on the public body, can be construed as a rolling quorum in deliberation on a matter that either is before the agency or may come before the agency. That is a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So you must use great caution to make sure that your deliberations and your votes occur in public, in the room, in the seats that you're in. Questions on that? And I expect that you will have them.
Wow. Questions. How do you differentiate council business with general conversation?
It can be a fine line. And I always tell public body members to err on the side of caution. My advice is always to tell public body members to listen to those who may contact them, but never express an opinion of any kind, particularly an opinion with respect to how you may decide or how you are thinking about a particular item of business to come before the agency. You can listen, but I wouldn't respond. You can listen. I received your email. I'll give it due consideration. Thanks for sending it. Same thing with the text. Okay. But if somebody says, hey, I want to know how you're going to vote on this. What's your vote? What are your thoughts? That's a trap. That you don't participate in that. You don't. Always err on the side of caution.
Well, I suppose as we'll go on, I'll get a clearer understanding what it is. It's just, you did say it was a fine line. I'll just give you an example. I go fishing on the pond and I catch a lot of fish and I tell people about it, and I'm talking about Johnson's Pond, but
But you're
I'm
not
just
talking about
some
agent.
fish I
Yeah,
caught.
that's different. That's different than business that would come before the agency.
Well, okay. I'm glad there is some distinction. Thank you.
If you ever have questions, please reach out to me. It's better to reach out in advance than to reach out afterwards and say, I did this and I'm not so sure I did the right thing. Other questions?
It does make getting things done a little bit more complicated. There's no question about that, but
One of the
there is an
exceptions,
obligation.
yeah, one of the exceptions is if you're deciding, hey, when can we have a meeting? The meeting date doesn't work. We need to have a meeting. Are these dates available? That is permitted conversation and dialogue on email, on text, in person. How come? Because all you're doing is setting a time and a place for a meeting. That's it. Okay. That's it. The chairman sets the subject matter of the agenda, or the press of ordinary business sets, the subject matter and order of things on the agenda, unless the agency decides otherwise and says, hey, you know what, at the end of every meeting, we want to have, an item where we say, let's talk about what needs to go on the agenda for the next meeting. That's a fine line too. You can say, I'd like to put this on for an agenda item, but you can't discuss the agenda item. Okay. I mean, it's really, your chairperson's call as to how the agenda gets made. It's efficient. But that, again, the agency members can decide how they want that to happen, and you can have that as an agenda item. That said, there are some particular strictures around how you do that when it makes itself onto an agenda as an item. Okay. Other exceptions, I don't want to get into the minutia of exceptions. I've given you the broad strokes. You've got to make sure that any matter that is before the agency, and any matter prospectively that could come before the agency, that you're just listening. You're listening to people. You're accepting emails, texts, whatever, and phone calls, but you don't want to deliberate and have discussion about it, particularly with agency members. So, other comments?
Stephen, just so I'm clear on the agenda item.
Yeah.
Process on this. So we could add an agenda item to our meetings, looking for additional agenda items for the next meeting that could come from any member of the
Agency
here.
Correct.
Okay, so
You
I
could
think
do
we
that.
need to consider doing that so that we get appropriate input from everybody.
And we'll talk about the way to keep that out of the bullseye of the Open Meetings Act, so that we're in full compliance with the act.
Okay, sounds good.
So the overarching premise of the Open Meetings Act is that agency business is to occur under the watchful eye of the public in a public setting. Okay. And so your agenda is important, really drives the bus. Look at tonight. Okay. You've got you've had 5 items. You're going to vote on meeting minutes that are specified. We're talking about the Open Meetings Act and Ethics Commission requirements. There's an agenda item on the town comprehensive plan status, right? Boundary survey concerning the pond redevelopment plan status update. Johnson's Pond redevelopment plan FAQ and website responses. What's the purpose, and an update on that? You've given fair notice to the public of what you're talking about. That's what your agenda is supposed to do. And the agenda in and of itself defines what you're going to do with the item that you've given fair notice about. So, for example, town comprehensive plan. Obviously, there's going to be some status provided, okay? And you can have a Q&A about the status and discussion amongst yourself on the status, okay? But you can't talk about what the comprehensive plan was 10 years ago when Bob owned the gas station in the woods. I know I'm being ridiculous, but that's my example. You can't. You can talk about the current status of the current plan, okay? So, and I would chime in, or anybody sitting in my position would chime in and tell you when you're about to go too far afield from an agenda item. So you won't have to worry about that too much, because you'll have counsel on that. But fair, open notice to the public of what is to be discussed frames what goes on an agenda. Okay. You'll notice that under new business, it said votes may be taken. Okay. If you don't indicate on an agenda that votes may be taken on particular items for whatever reason, then you may not take a vote. Okay, that's why the agenda is structured in this fashion, that votes may be taken on these items. You may not have a meeting of the public body on a virtual platform. That does not include your clerk. It does not include your video person, and it does not include your legal counsel. It only applies to members of the public body. The four of you, as you sit tonight, could not participate in this meeting virtually. So, for example, if Mr. Schuler was on a business trip and he's sitting in his hotel room and he said, well, I can tune into the meeting and participate. No, you may not. You can tune in and listen, but you may not deliberate and you may not vote. Okay. And you can say, well, I'm going to talk tonight, but I'm not going to talk as a member of the agency. That's just because you've declared you're not talking as a member of the agency doesn't mean that you're not. You are. Okay. So you may not participate virtually. There is no requirement under the Open Meetings Act for there to be public participation. Okay. It's a bone of contention in everywhere in the world, but there is no requirement for that. And you are allowed, if you do have public participation, to limit it to agenda items. Okay. You do have the right to do that. The absolute right. It's the jurisprudence is clear on that. And I'm not suggesting one way or the other what the agency does. Right now, there is a public comment on docketed items section. It's a good idea. You know, redevelopment agencies regularly keep comment on those sorts of things because public participation is key to redevelopment projects and the mission of the redevelopment agency itself and in general. Open meetings does not require you to have a virtual capability for the public to participate. So, for example, Zoom. These meetings, my understanding is that these meetings are broadcast on Zoom for public participation purposes as well as public viewing purposes. There's no requirement that you make a meeting available for public viewing, whether it be on YouTube or Zoom or anything else. There is also no legal requirement that you permit public participation virtually either. You can limit public participation to in-person. So, for example, when we have a situation where, you know, you have a meeting in a large auditorium because you expect a large crowd, 200-300 people or whatever the case may be, there may not be an ability there to have virtual participation from the public. That's okay. It does not make the meeting defective. Okay. It does not make the meeting defective. But again, that's a matter of policy for the agency members to decide upon how they want to do that. Again, the big one is rolling quorum and conducting yourselves deliberation-wise and vote-wise in public and not whipping votes together prior to a meeting so that you have come to a predetermination among a majority of agency members as to how you will vote on a particular item or what your disposition is on a particular item. So, any questions on anything I've said on the high points?
No, we seem to be set, Stephen. Thank you.
You're welcome. I will send those materials along to each of you. I have your email addresses, but I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, which concerns the town comprehensive plan status. Currently, the town does not have a comprehensive plan. There is one in development. How this affects us is that it's a requirement for the redevelopment project under General Law 45-32-3. My understanding is that the town has received a grant to complete the comprehensive plan and has contracted a consultant to help them do so. GZA is the consultant for the redevelopment agency. Will coordinate with the town for the sections on land use as necessary. We can't really move forward officially to get anything adopted until we get that plan. So hopefully that will occur quickly. Is there any questions on that? No.
Is that meeting, I'm sorry. Um, is that meeting on YouTube where we can see what's going on?
The
The company, the comprehensive plan?
as far as the process of developing it,
Yeah.
that's an in-house working type of thing as opposed to a public meeting is my understanding of it.
So we'll
The
just,
plan will get to,
so we'll just wait until the plan is developed.
yeah, or help out as much as we
Okay.
can
Yeah.
in the areas that concern us. We need to present the boundary area to the town to be adopted. We can't do that unless we can reconcile it with a comprehensive plan is basically what the issue is.
Mhm.
Okay. Item C, the boundary survey regarding Johnson's Pond redevelopment plan status update. On the September 25th, we had a public workshop specifically to get public information on that boundary area. It was well attended. There was well over 200 people at that meeting. We got a great deal of input. All of this stuff has been incorporated or will be incorporated into our plans as we go forward. A couple of things that have changed concerning that survey is there is a parcel of land on Northrop Platte Road. This is being removed from the plan. This was originally thought to be town property. It is not. It is an easement to the town. So the town doesn't own it. We can't utilize it for redevelopment. So that I don't believe that the website has been updated with that yet, but they're in the process of doing it. Either way, it's not going to be part of our deliberations as we move forward with the plan. Let's see. As far as the boundary area itself, based on the information we got from the public workshop, plus the information that GZA has put together, we have, from our end, a finalized draft of the area. If you look, this has also not been updated yet on the website. If you look on the area, on the website where the current boundary area is marked, it essentially goes down into the wetland area, heading down toward the softball fields and that area of the town. It's simply including watershed is really what we've been doing on this. There's been some other minor tweaks to it. Again, much of this is based on information we got at the public workshop. Okay, and again, we can't submit this to the town council for their approval until we have the comprehensive plan and can reconcile everything to it, make sure everything is the way it should be. Any questions on that section? Okay. On something on a nicer note, item D, Johnson's Pond redevelopment plan FAQ and website responses, the purpose and update. If you go to the website, there is a new tab up there called FAQ. What this is a list of questions and answers that have been gleaned from the 400 plus responses that we have received. Explanations as to what they are. Okay, thank you, Cody. Oops. But it's a pretty straightforward type of presentation. This is considered a live document. So there are questions that are on there that we do not have the answers for yet. For example, question is, how is this going to be financed? Well, we don't have the plan finalized, so it's hard to tell how we're going to finance it. You know, it's the cart before the horse type of situation. This will be updated as more information comes in, as the plan develops, and we learn more. We encourage you to go through it. There's a lot of good information there. The comment section on the webpage is still open. It will remain open for the duration of the project. We get regular updates from GZA on that, and all the information gets incorporated into the development of the plan. Oh, the other thing that is in the works at this point in time is to post the actual public input onto the web itself so that you can see what the responses were to that we have received so far. This has some work that has to be done on it because some of the stuff from the surveys has personal information of the respondents. All this needs to be filed off so that it's anonymous results, and that's for the protection of the people that have submitted the results, and with respect to them, they don't need to have that information put out. That will be coming up. I'm not sure of the time on that, but it is something that we are working on. Any questions on any of that? Okay. That completes the agenda items. There's just one more thing, and Stephen, I hope I can just do this. We have to do a meeting offset next month because of Thanksgiving. And so what I would like to do is suggest that we move the meeting to November 19th, which is a Wednesday, same time, same place.
You can do
Is there
that.
any- I'm sorry, what's that?
You could do that. Yeah.
Okay, so if there's any objections or any comments on that,
So you need a motion on that, right?
No,
do I need a motion on it?
no, you don't.
Okay, yeah, so we're just setting a time. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
You know, unless you really want to do it the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I didn't think so. Okay, so we will move that meeting to November 19th at 5:15 p.m. Okay, that completes our agenda items. Does anybody? There's no discussion on them. I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion made. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Member Foley,
Yes.
Member Pillar,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Schuler,
Yes.
Chairman Brennan.
Yes. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.